Hi, this is Tim Hamilton and
John Fernay.
And we're the co-hosts of the Maryland Crabs.
Today we're here with a crab cake for your listening pleasure. What's a crab cake? It's not quite a full episode, it's just a little snippet. So stay tuned and check it out.
And make sure you check us out on themarylandcrabs.com. You can follow us on Twitter at MD Crabs Podcast or find us on Facebook at the Maryland Crabs Podcast. Don't forget, subscribe, rate us, iTunes. Go there now. Go.
All right, we're going to be doing a crab cake, and this is the first time we've ever done one together, isn't it?
A crab cake together? Yeah, this is the first time we've ever done them.
Good thing we've recorded that thing. This is John and Tim.
I know.
A crab cake. We've never used it.
Yeah, we have the opens. We have John's open, my open, and the other one has got dust on it. We've never used that.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do is it is National Podcast Month. What kind of, it is Maryland Podcast
Maryland
Month,
Podcast,
which is a brainchild of the folks up at Red Maryland, who, despite all the blue people that listen to this, they're a good bunch of guys.
Oh, they're great. Yeah, I love those guys. I don't agree with anything that they say, but I like them.
Oh, absolutely. But we're going to talk to them, talk a little bit about their podcast, about what they do. And they do what they do is they do it really well.
They do a great job. They do it live, first of all, which is just terrifying to me.
Right.
And
I admire their balls.
Yes, and they got a great website. They got a killer website, and it makes me embarrassed about our website.
It is. You should get off the stick and do something about that website.
I should do something. I have plans of something.
You've got all sorts of time during the day. Well, I don't understand why you...
That's where I catch up on my stories.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we give them a call and see what they're up to? They're about ready to go live in about a half hour, so we're just going to talk to them about a little bit about Red Maryland. Here, just like hum a few bars while I dial this.
Oh, we're going to do this live. I thought we were going to do some like editing magic.
No.
So we're just going to... God, you dial like an old man.
And if you heard those beeps and you figured them out, now you know their secret number.
Hello. Please state your name after the tone, and Google Voice will try to connect you.
Okay.
Okay, what name do we want to go with?
Okay, we're Blue Maryland. Oh. I'm sure they're going to answer.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello, it's Red Maryland. This
is Blue Maryland.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I heard some of those tax rants. A very good-looking guy has an op-ed in the in the paper in the Capitol tomorrow about taxes, and it's a rant. But go figure.
That's odd.
Good deal. Yeah. Good deal. Hey, how are you guys?
We're doing great. How are you guys?
Good. Hey, we are rolling, and actually we've got Greg Klein and Brian Griffiths, who are the brainchildren behind Maryland Podcast Month and Red Maryland. And you had more brain behind Red Maryland too, but I mean, you guys are the ones that are carrying the torch right now. Not a torch, not a torch, but it's a
torch is fine.
Okay, lifting the weights.
Yeah. Lightsaber, torch, lightsaber. I mean, you never know.
Brian is
the one that plays Dutch. I don't want to hear it.
Brian's like the Julie McCoy. He's the one who organizes the whole thing every year.
Yeah,
the cruise director.
Yes, you have a clipboard and everything.
Sure. It really is. And the Maryland Podcast Month, I mean, you came up with this last year, and this was basically just a sort of the rising tide floats all boats type of a thing where people just need to understand and get into the groove of all the different podcasts we have in Maryland. And I know you've created a website called MarylandPodcastMonth.com, and you've got like 30 different podcasts. I know we're included with the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief as well as the Maryland Crabs. I know you have the Conduit Street podcast. You've got the Mark and Lowell show, and to your defense, I guess, if you will, but you've also got Heather Mazur's podcast on there as well.
When we did this, we made it a point. It's like, this is not a conservative thing, a Republican thing, or even a Red Maryland thing. We're going to have a Maryland Podcast Month that's dedicated to all Maryland podcasts. It is open to everybody to get into the pool and be part of it. So we have, like I said, we've got Heather Mazur as a part of it. We've got local media such as you guys. We've got mainstream media. We've got WTOP participating this year. We've got Montgomery County, their county media participating this year. And like I said, I think we're up to like 25 or 30 podcasts this year, which is phenomenal for something that just, was kind of a brainchild last year. The whole genesis of Maryland Podcast Month was actually, believe it or not, in National Weather Podcast Month, which is actually in March every year. And I was listening to one of the weather podcasts I listened to, and thought to myself, this would be a great idea to do something in Maryland. Yeah, I'm a nerd.
Weather podcast.
Yeah. So that was the genesis of it. We wanted to make sure that everybody who wanted to participate had the opportunity to do so, and we can cross collaborate on things like we did with you, Tim, last week, like we're doing right now. I know, John, you got on with the Conduit Street fellas for this week's show, and
I can't wait to hear that. I listen to those guys every week. They do a fantastic show. They will never have us on. So I'm glad.
Honestly, I was talking to Kevin, and they're trying to figure out a way to do it. But the whole thing is they've got to remain kind of neutral, because basically they said that we've got all these county executives that are Democrats now at this point, so we can't go too far to the right. And but they are trying to find a way, because they're also big fans of you of Red Maryland as well. And I've got to say that I've discovered probably 3 or 4 podcasts that I didn't even realize that exist that I am now fans of.
Yeah, I didn't know any of those. I mean, I didn't know probably 2/3 of the podcasts on the list. So you guys have really pitched a huge tent to pull people into. So I mean, you've done a great job. You're right. The growth from last year to this year is just absolutely amazing. I love this. I love the camaraderie. That politics isn't involved. Everyone's just in it together.
Yeah, we've got to be up 10 plus shows from last year, and we covered the gamut. We've got comedy, we've got sports, we've got news, we've got opinion, we've got fashion, we've got music, all sorts of stuff. Just podcasts that are out there that are that people, like you said, that don't get a great audience. There's not that level of promotion, or people have their niche, but they aren't necessarily able to break out of their niche. So we've been able to bring everybody together, and hopefully, like you said, hopefully everybody who finds MarylandPodcastMonth.com can find a new podcast that they enjoy and listen to, and can encourage other people to become part of the podcasting community.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, I wanted to talk a little bit about, since last week you were kind enough to have Tim on and give all the BS about the Maryland Crabs podcast, but let's talk just a little bit about Red Maryland. Where did that come from, and how did that, what was the genesis of that? I'm assuming it wasn't on some weather podcast.
No, we started the blog Red Maryland back in 2007. It was right after the 2006 election, when Governor O'Malley was elected. A guy by the name of Strife, who is a senior editor, front page editor at redstate.com, Maryland, was looking to get Maryland conservative bloggers together and collaborate on one big blog. That's what Red Maryland started as. We did some radio work as part of that. We loved doing that. We went to a radio station up in Harford County. What was the name of it, Brian?
WAMD 970 WAMD Aberdeen, the dinosaur in the cornfield.
And we loved. Brian and I both are radiophiles, and we love doing this. I've been podcasting since we started Red Maryland. I had my own podcast then back in 2007. So
Greg's selling himself short. I think he might have been the first podcaster in the state.
Really?
Well, certainly doing the kind of political podcasting that we do. I don't think there were that many, because people didn't even know what the heck a podcast is. Now that's not the question you get most of the time. So that's pretty cool. But we love doing that, and we decided to expand the Red Maryland brand into a podcast network back in 2011, which was a little bit ahead of the curve. Now it's a pretty common thing. But we started doing the Red Maryland radio show, which is our flagship show. We do every Thursday night, which you can listen to anytime on demand.
And you do it live.
And we do it live. Yes, yeah. We do it live. And one of the reasons we do that, other than sheer laziness, is because we wanted to reproduce doing live radio. And that's what we love to do. And when we did a show on WAMD that was Red Maryland radio, we were able to get, there's a week when the Ironbirds were on, had a night off or something, they would let us do a Red Maryland radio show. And that was a lot of fun. And that's what we wanted to bring to the podcast. So, and we've had other shows over the years, people who have collaborated, some who've come and gone, some who are part of Maryland Podcast Month. Our friend WBAL's Andrew Langer and Jerry Rogers do a show together. Andrew had a podcast with us for a long time. We've had lots of other people who've come and gone and collaborated. Easy for me to say. That's why I'm not on WBAL radio.
And now we can edit that out. So that's the convenience of doing this recording.
Well, see, but you don't have to, because I covered it as a whatever. I don't care. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, that was flawless.
It was absolutely flawless. So we wanted to. We've expanded it. So at times we've had multiple shows going at any different time, but all kind of with a general focus on state and local politics in Maryland, and that's something we wanted to do. And that's how the Red Maryland Network came around. That's how Red Maryland Radio came around. And now we're in our 7th year doing this. And we've done, special shows. We've done all kinds of interviews. And we've grown our audience tremendously. And, we're big fans of podcasting, just like we were of radio. And podcasting is not the future. I think it's rapidly becoming the present. And it's great. I agree with you, Tim, the camaraderie and getting to meet different people from, different parts of the state doing different kinds of podcasts. I mean, Brian, I think sat in with some of the guys for the Orioles podcast that we're working with. And not yet, but he's going to. And, so there's a history podcast and there's other people. Like I listen to the Conduit Street guys all the time.
Same.
And they're very, very, I can tell you as someone who follows state and local politics, those guys know their business. And, I probably give some notes on their bumper music or something, but it's cool that we're all able to collaborate and work together. So I certainly encourage everybody, if you're looking, and I get this question occasionally too, do you know any good podcasts to listen to? Well, now we all have plenty that we can recommend. Right. Somebody's going to like something. So,
without a doubt, and I'll tell you, what are you guys going to do with all your free time this year? Because it's not an election year, and I totally leaned on you guys for candidate information. You guys put together an incredible,
you did.
Going into the election, which didn't turn out like anybody thought it was going to turn out, perhaps except for Governor Hogan. But just the information that you had, the interviews that you had, the background information on all the candidates was just fantastic. It was a great resource.
Well, thank you. But, it's funny that every time we think it's going to be a downtime, every time something's going to be quiet, we get what we just had basically in April, where we were covering soup to nuts, everything that was going on with Speaker Bush's passing and just the fascinating what happened there with the machinations in the race for Speaker. It's kind of, you never know what's going to take off. You never know what's going to be, what's going to happen. It was during a non-election year that we had the state flag petition, which just absolutely took off like a rocket.
I remember
in August
that.
2017, all of a sudden we went from, hey, we got nothing to talk about to, oh, Brian's trying to rig up an interview with, on Channel 9, while he's out of town, so you never really know what's going to happen. It goes back to what Greg and I always say. We don't understand the internet because we think that there's something that's very important that people just, kind of shrug their shoulders at. And then something, that's just kind of a throwaway takes off and becomes, statewide news. So,
dude, you're not alone there, man. There are so many episodes that we do, and I remember one we did with the library, and Tim's going, "Oh, geez,
I had to edit that." I'm like,
the library, and it was like
I was so pissed at him.
One of the most fascinating ones we've done, and I do it all the time with the news stuff on Eye in Annapolis. It's like, okay, this is going to get people riled up. This is going to get people talking, and they'll be like, "No, I just need to put in something like a pit bull bit somebody, and that will take off, or maybe piss off the bikers or something like that. That'll get them going."
I'll tell you what he did recently too that really ticked some people off. It was, compared to you guys, we're left, but I'm center left and John is center right. And so John takes a dim view, and I do too, really, of the Democratic machine that goes on. I just don't like any machine, no matter where I live. He had an op-ed or an editorial on the Annapolis Daily Briefing about the replacement for Michael Bush and how the fix was in, and we got a lot of blowback for that. Because that was a Pitbull episode for him.
Then I had a delegate's husband come that close to taking me out and wanting to take me out in the parking lot. It was interesting.
And I got all the phone calls because I'm seen as like his dad, and everyone's calling me, asking me to talk to him. I'm like, I'm not talking to him.
Well, and then of course I wound up actually quoting your piece, John, or referencing your piece in my column in the Journal about it, which is kind of talk about full circle. But I think all of us knew the fix was in. It was adorable that the machine got all. Got their pants in a bunch about it, but everybody knew what was happening. It's not the first time it's happened on the Democratic side.
It's not the last.
On the Republican too. Yeah, it's going to happen.
And we've covered that issue on our side too, and we've been critical of people in the Republican Party. I mean, I won't name names, but I've had delegates not want to take me to the parking lot, but came up to me during unity events and say I've terrorized them for years because of my criticism of them. So,
I almost did get into a fist fight at a unity event.
More than one.
Yeah.
Which isn't ironic at all. Yeah.
But we're having unity event before the primary.
That is true. And you guys also did something new again this year, because you're always not reinventing yourselves, but adding on to what you did. But you did the Red Maryland Leadership Conference in January of this year.
And it's coming up again. They announced that last week.
Not coming up, but I mean, it's
sure
another 9 months away.
Yeah.
You can get your wife. You can get your wife knocked up and have a baby before that comes around.
I can't do it, but let's...
I already did. My wife. So,
you expecting again?
Yeah, we're having a baby in September.
Get out of here!
Congratulations!
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Look,
Thank you.
We broke news.
Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
It's not until December.
Didn't find out.
Good God!
So early bird tickets are on sale for the 2020 Red Maryland Leadership Conference at redmarylandconference.com. Last year we did sell out. We sold out about a month before. Which when we announced the conference, we had absolutely no idea what the reaction was going to be. And people just bought tickets. We had a lot of folks come in. The Lieutenant Governor was there. Craig Wolf was there. All the Republican legislative leadership was there. We had lots of folks come in. We've already got Commerce Secretary Kelly Schultz signed up. We got Kathy Shalega signed up. We got a lot of other folks who are coming in for that. January 11th, 2020, Doubletree Hotel in Annapolis, redmarylandconference.com.
Yeah, no, it was a great event, and it was very humbling for us. Sometimes when you talk to a microphone on the computer, you don't know if there's really people listening. I'm sure you guys feel that as well.
Yeah, we get that. Yeah.
But when you can get people, 150 people, and hopefully this year even more, to spend $40-$50 to buy a ticket
and all day on a Saturday
and drive to Annapolis and show up in a room together because of something we put together. Obviously we had great speakers and great presenters, and we're going to have a lot of them again this year, but that's pretty humbling, pretty exciting. So, and I also should give credit where credit's due. We had amazing promos from John Frenaye voicing them over, which said that this event would sell out, and sure enough it did. So
the great Karnak. It's fun. It's funny that you talk about like you don't know whether people are listening. And one of my greatest stories was I was getting ready to go on WNAV with Barbara Cox, and I think it was Steve Shue and George Johnson, and I can't remember her name, but she was a sort of a political correspondent during that Hogan's first, when the first election, and she was just wrapping up on the air, and she goes, "Oh, thank God, this is effing over. I can't wait to get the F out of here." And she looked down and the red light was on.
Rookie mistake.
And it's like, oh gosh, she pulled it down and not a single phone call. And she's going, okay, so was nobody listening or did nobody care? What's, it was kind of funny.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about that on the podcast.
We have some idea. No, but we had a similar story back in WAMD.
Oh, yeah.
We did a show. We did a show where it was during the 2008 presidential campaign, and the candidates had released their top 10 songs or something. And we did a segment or two on that. And then we did our own list of, our favorite political songs. And then we wanted people to call in and vote. And nobody called.
So we had to cover it and say, it's tied.
It was tied.
We're waiting for your call. We covered it. But, yeah, it was then again, WAMD signal.
That was probably because nobody was listening.
WAMD signal probably went basically across the street. It was a very weak signal, 300 watts, I think, during the evening and 500 during the day. The whole reason that the station actually went under was at the time it was sold to I think it was Salem, so that they could turn up the signal on one of their stations up in New York. Ultimately, it's actually now back as part of a local network that I can't ever get anybody to answer my questions about.
I think when it comes to feedback, I mean, there's very few people who come and go, you had a killer show yesterday. It's not until you piss people off. So I'm taking people who are pissed off at us as positive feedback that they're listening.
It is. The more negative, the better.
That is the mantra we have. I mean, we recently had a event where there was a room full of people who came just to yell at us.
It was great.
We packed the room. I mean, when we we had former elected officials, like pages of notes of things they wanted to complain about that we've written.
Right.
That's when you're making an impact.
Because we started doing the show live, not just on the Blog Talk radio feed, but also we do a video feed now on Facebook, facebook.com/RedMaryland. Now we do get that instant feedback. People are actually watching and making comments and stuff like that. So we actually see people and kind of get their reaction. And sometimes their reaction is good, and sometimes the reaction is like, "Are you watching the same show I'm on right now?" But it's we can kind of see. So we kind of get that. We kind of get that pat on the back saying, "Hey, somebody's watching and seeing what you're doing," and it's getting people interested in watching the show. It's funny because we didn't start doing that until last year, and it was just kind of on a whim when we did a Republican primary. The only Republican primary debate for U.S. Senate last year was on on Red Maryland Radio, and we did it live, simulcasting on the blog. And it was the first time we ever simulcasted on Facebook, Facebook Live, and the response was just overwhelming. And so it's like, all right, well, I guess we gotta. For some reason, people want to see our ugly faces. I don't get it. I don't know why, but people really respond to the Facebook video.
I'd like to come up and watch you guys do that show one night live, if that's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
I mean, sure. I would shut up and sit in the corner. I promise.
It's a very small room. Not go unnoticed.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just very interested and intrigued with the live video aspect of that. And I know you guys are probably getting ready to go live in about 10 minutes anyway, too.
We are.
I know we're not in an election year, but what is your prediction for 2022 here in Maryland for governor?
For 2022?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's the $1 million question, isn't it?
It's going to be pretty wide open. I think Republicans will make a comeback. There's going to be a very intense race to see who will succeed Governor Hogan. I think it's going to be a very competitive Republican primary. It's going to definitely be a very competitive Democratic primary.
Sure.
So it's going to be exciting.
The Democratic primary in 2022 will make the 2018 Democratic primary look like kindergarten.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it's going to depend on redistricting as far as where the lines are drawn, and that's a huge, huge, huge question mark that's going to define that race. But as far as the governor's race goes, there's every chance in the world that Governor Hogan's legacy could be a second Republican elected after him. That's certainly possible.
Definitely.
He's done everything that seems impossible, but he's shown the way to do it. And I think when you look at some of the Democrats who've gotten elected, the success that they had in 2018, almost universally, the big name Democrats who got elected have raised taxes and want to increase spending, and they want to do that in the legislature.
It's a replay of the O'Malley years,
which is going to be real easy for a Republican in 2022 to run on, especially if they're more moderate areas. If there's somebody who comes out of the Hogan administration, maybe he's lieutenant governor.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Rutherford is going to be the big player in this one.
It'll be interesting to see. And I think that one thing I mentioned on the Conduit Street podcast the other day is I think that all of the freshman legislators that we have, both in the Senate and the House, are very vulnerable.
One of our biggest things that we were pushing for years during this election, leading up to the 2018 election, was how important redistricting was. And one of the problems is that we have, some districts are single member, some districts are 2 member, some districts are 3 member. And the one thing that we've always wanted, hoped, and prayed for in the House of Delegates is single member districts. And if Governor Hogan does that, you're going to see a lot of those freshman delegates drawn into districts with incumbent, with long-time incumbent delegates. You're going to see districts that aren't necessarily as gerrymandered to help Democratic candidates. So a lot of these progressive, quote unquote, Democrats who won easily in 2018 may find themselves in for a much tougher fight in 2022. It's one of the more fascinating things that we're going to be covering over the next couple of years. When we get to 2021, redistricting is going to be pretty much the talk of everybody, and that's going to be kind of the big focus for that year. So
which as an independent, I agree with too. I mean, I hate the fact that I'm not represented properly because of the redistricting, and people forget about that. That this may be advantageous as a state on the national level, but on local level, you're not being represented properly.
Yeah, I mean, that's for a lot of people. I mean, there are so many places in even Montgomery County where you have not just conservatives, but African Americans, Asian Americans, Latinos who are not who are being represented by white liberals because the districts were drawn in such a way to make sure that white establishment Democrats got elected. And that's not great either. Even for diversity within the Democratic Party, diversity by gender and by ethnicity. You'll see a lot more conservatives elected with single member districts, but you would see the most diverse in every way imaginable House of Delegates elected in 2023 if we have single member districts.
It'll be interesting to watch. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll let you guys go and push the button to start your Red Maryland at 8:00 on Thursday, when we're recording this. And Brian, you got a show on Sunday nights too.
Yeah, it's the air raid. Usually it's whatever kind of comes to mind. It's on my mind that week. This week's show, actually, I'll be going down to Ocean City on Saturday for the Republican Party Spring Convention. So it'll be jam-packed full of interviews with state party officials, elected officials, and the like. Nice.
And I'm glad you got rid of the guy that sells the tractors out in Nebraska or whatever it was that was part of the Red Maryland network that you had sort of a syndicated thing there for a while.
Well, he's still out there, but he's not part of the network anymore. So we appreciate that.
I'm going through and I'm like, well, hey, go down to Billy Bob's Tractors and tell him I sent you. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to Nebraska, but hey, guys, thank you very much for coming on. But much more for doing this Maryland Podcast Month. I think this is a great idea, and looking forward to it again for next year and having it grow some more. And I'm looking forward to see what Red Maryland puts out in the next years. And, of course, anybody who wants to go to the conference, it's redmarylandconference.com. Is that right?
MarylandConference.com. The mothership is redmaryland.com, facebook.com/redmaryland, marylandpodcastmonth.com, facebook.com/Maryland Podcast Month.
And you guys still are not on Tinder, right?
Correct. No. That's correct.
Okay.
Grinder?
Yeah, no.
No. Negative Ghost Rider.
All righty. Hey, guys, have a great show.
All right,
Thank
fellas,
you very much.
Thanks a lot. Take care, guys.
All right, guys.
See you. Bye-bye. God, they're fun.
They're fun. I have a good time with them. Like I said, I don't agree with virtually any of their political standpoint. I mean, although they're fairly center. I mean, not center, but I mean, they're not far right. But I mean, I disagree with a lot of their viewpoints, but they have a great show. They have a great job.
You know what I want to see? I want to see you and Greg get together, team up together, and talk about bicycles.
Yeah, we both agree on that. We both dislike bicyclists a lot. There's things that unify all of us, and that's one of them.
I would love to do that, and then I would love to go hang over at Alex Pline's house while he's listening to it and just
watch his head explode.
Watch his head explode.
I love the fact we've had Alex on 5 times, and every time I deliberately wind him up about that, and he goes for it every time. I enjoy it. I love Alex. I love winding him up.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. You're winding Alex up. Well, let's wrap this up and call it a night. How do you get in touch with us?
Well, we are info@themarylandcrabs.com. Our webpage is themarylandcrabs.com. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. We're at MD Crabs Podcast on Twitter. We are on Spotify and Apple Music, Apple Podcast, on everything.
So wherever you can leave us a rating or a review, do it.
We say that a lot, and I think people tend to tune out. It really does help us a lot.
Okay, then forget what I just said.
No. I forget it, and now I'll remind you again. Rating and review. The reason being is that Apple's algorithms, they kind of, when you're looking at podcasts and you're looking for something new, podcasts pop up and they're suggested to you. So if you're giving us ratings and reviews, that's going to put us in front of more people, and we just really appreciate that. And that's for everybody. Do that for everybody if you can. I do that with everyone. I go and I rate them. It's not hard.
Absolutely. I don't know what we've got coming next Thursday.
I don't know. We have. I think
I'm forgetting what it is. We do have something.
I love the fact that we sat down about 6 weeks ago talking about slowing everything down, and now we're putting out more content than we did before.
Well, the crab cakes are fairly easy though to do, and you had a great one with Sarah Koenig.
Yeah,
from Serial.
Yeah,
and she's appearing at Maryland Hall tonight.
Yes,
yeah.
Friday
the 17th.
Yeah, she's there with the St. Anne's School of Annapolis, and she was the host and co-creator of Serial Podcast. There are three seasons. The first season was back in 2014. Then the next one was 2015, and then we just had one released back in fall, which when I interviewed her, I did not know, so I was totally embarrassed myself. But I started listening to it. It's excellent. But she's fantastic. It was the first million podcast download was Serial.
Yeah. So that was a really good one that you did. But we do have an episode next Thursday. I forget what it is.
It's on the calendar. I don't know.
It is on the calendar, and
it's something great.
And then coming out in early June, we're going to revisit Annapolis Pride, because June is Pride Month in Annapolis, and they're doing all sorts of cool things for the LGBTQ XBTYB community.
They really got to rebrand that. I'm all for rights and everything, but I don't like that.
It just doesn't roll off the tongue.
No,
it doesn't roll.
They have to do a rebranding.
That's true. All right. We're going to call it a night, and thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
This has been the Maryland Crabs Podcast with Tim Hamilton and John Fernay. Sure to follow them at all the regular places, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and online at themarylandcrabs.com. Take a moment to rate us on iTunes. Now, get the hell out of my kitchen. Seriously, go!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.